the basics in REST. Actually, not in REST, basics in web services. So let me just ask you a simple question. What is the main difference between a web application and a web service? Is it in the request or is it in the response? I said the difference between this thing is in the response. So what is typically the response contents from the web application? What type of contents we have? Content type. We have been developing it from day one. Yeah, presentation logic. Yeah, content type. Yes, Gaurav, Ashutosh, right. Text/HTML. Because whatever is the output, yes, HTML, CSS. When I say text/HTML, of course, you add your CSS, JavaScript, anything. Human understand. Sorry, forget human. Client browser understandable. So what is going to be the client of your web application? A browser, web browser, and a person is sitting there. So what type of interaction it is between for a web application? B2B or B2C? It's a B2C. Got it? Next. But when you are talking about a web service, what will be the response content type coming from a web service? Will it be a text/HTML? No. So it will be a pure data. But if it is a pure data such as a .NET object or Java object, it won't be interpretable by other technology. So we do the marshalling. Marshalling is conversion from technology specific data format to cross technology independent data format, where the three options are text data, XML or JSON. And which is the most what do you say, popular lightweight data exchange format? JavaScript object notation or a JSON. Okay, so what will be the content type of your web services response? It is application/JSON. So later, as an exam preparation, I'm going to give you what was that? This thing. Web services can be implemented using two architectures. One is a SOAP-based web services, simple object access protocol, and the other other architecture which we are going to use is RESTful web services. So if you use the SOAP, I mean, it's an ancient technology, faded technology. But if you use SOAP, for example, SOAP is a protocol, a thick protocol above HTTP. So you have to learn the SOAP protocol details, SOAP packet details, and then you have something called a service discovery. You have to learn a new language, WSDL, web service description language, and it became very complex. So the technology or the trend was using a lightweight solution. So that is what was proposed long time back as the REST principle. So I cannot really take you, even if you had said that we are 100% clear in REST, I generally would like to start with some concept. So there is the word itself is REST simplified. Am I talking about a RESTful services here? Absolutely not. So if people ask you, what is REST? Is it a protocol or is it not a protocol? REST is a protocol or not? It is not a protocol. It is an architectural style. It is consisting of some principles. When you say you are doing a RESTful APIs and REST backend and all, and if you don't know this much, people will not appreciate it at all. So representational state transfer is not a protocol. Which is the protocol we are going to use to talk between two different microservices or two different web applications? HTTP, good old HTTP. Okay, so we are having a very same protocol. So what it stands for is representational state transfer. Next one, it is a web standard. It is nothing but a principle based, web-based architecture, and it is going to use good old HTTP, or later you can secure it by using HTTPS for data communication. So when you read the next line, you can tell me, when you talk about RESTful architecture, REST-based architecture, is it a service-oriented architecture, SOA, or is it a resource-oriented architecture, ROA? I mean, just the full short forms. It's a resource-oriented architecture. because everything, the REST principles, everything revolves around the resource. So which resource I'm talking about? Customer, the data, customer data, which is maintained in the backend is a resource. Student details, resource. Images, resource. Documents, resource. Everything is a resource. So every component is a resource. So when you start hearing the rest, people talk about two English grammar concepts, noun and the verb. Everyone knows nouns and everyone knows the verbs. So the nouns are nothing but the resources such as person, customer, student, flight schedule, reservation, etc. And which are the verbs, guys? Which are the verbs which you use in RESTful developing REST APIs? Which are the verbs we use? Yeah, but which are the verbs? I'm asking you which verbs? Quickly. Only get, put, post, and delete, which is going to be used to manipulate the resource. Okay. In that sense, I'm saying it is resource oriented. So every component is a resource. So we are developing employee-based backend, and a resource is accessed by a common interface. Which interface? HTTP interface, using HTTP standard methods, get, put, post, delete. And there is a most interest. Okay, I won't say most or least. There is a something called as this thing, partial updates. Have you heard of it? What is it which we use for partial updates? I don't want to update the entire state of the object, which could be consisting of 20 fields. I just want to update 2 out of 20. What is that for partial update? Which verb? Which HTTP method? Not done it? No. Put is for complete updates, all updates. Partial updates is patch. Okay. So coming back to the point, if you want to do the complete updates, you want to completely update the state, all the properties, use put. If you want to do the partial updates, you have patch. Like the word says patch, you're patching the details. Anyway, so who is the person to thank for developing REST principles, for giving us REST principles? The name is, again, I don't know how much you have heard and also I'll stop saying you must have heard this. So Roy Fielding is the guy we have to thank for. And if you read about Roy Fielding, Google, he is the main contributor in designing HTTP protocol also. So you can understand the greatness of this person. So he was the main contributor in HTTP protocol development, I mean specification HTTP protocol, plus he's come out with the REST principles in one of his PhD thesis, dissertations and all that. Okay, so coming back. In REST architecture, you have two entities, service provider, that is a backend, API provider, and the consumer. So what is it we are building in Java? Is the REST server, as in provider. And what will be the consumer? Front end. Back end is the provider, front end is the accessor. So REST server simply provides the access to the resources via get, put, post, delete, patch, etc. And REST client, that is your React, for example, or Postman. We'll start with Postman, will access it, and React kind of a front end, UI front end libraries will present it to the thin user, I mean thin client end user. Okay. So there is people ask you, what is the exact meaning of representational state transfer? And if you fail to answer that, whatever you say after that loses the impression. So spend a minute on the word representational state transfer. So for that, a diagram is must. So here, same diagram I'm asking you to open. So listen to this. This kind of exchange between a web application and another web application, or it can be a microservice and another microservice, whatever. This communication is going to be, this is going to be done on the using REST architecture. So what do you say? Expand the word representational state transfer. So hear me. Okay, in this my example, can you tell me where is the weather data stored? In which database it is stored? The front-end database or a back-end database? Weather data. Weather data is stored in the back-end database. Everyone with me? Now, so you can imagine the weather table, forecast table, whatever I mean, like this. So weather data in the database will be represented by what? I'm not talking in .NET, so I'm talking in, of course, Java, POJO. You know POJOs. So, point is that POJO. So now, if user says, I want to find a weather forecast for this particular date, from today to the next Saturday, maybe a whole week, client will send the request for this resource. And now what will be sent? The weather information POJO. So listen to this. It is the state of the resource. Which is the resource I'm talking about? Weather is a resource here. How will be that resource identified? Using uniform resource identifier URI. Okay, so front end will be accessing the resource of the backend using a URI / API or something, whatever, / API / weather, something. Okay, and now see what is transferred between this. So tell me, is it the weather POJO which you will be sending on the wire? So is it the, okay, it's the state of the resource, of course. So weather information, humidity, the whatever, runny, this thing, I mean, feels like temperature, actual temperature, whatever. So are you going to send the state of the resource, or are you going to send the representation of the state of the resource? State or, state or its representation. 100% representation. And why representation? So your front end, which could be developed in other technology, can also understand. So which is the most, what is it called? Popular representation JSON. So now see, put the whole word together. Representational state transfer. So using REST principles, you are going to transfer the representation of JSON representation. Earlier, SOAP only supported XML. REST standards support XML as well as JSON. Text we don't use, too much of parsing. Okay, so what we are transferring or sending back is the JSON representation of the state of the resource. So the word representational state transfer. Understood the meaning of the word REST, or understood the meaning of this representational state transfer? The resource is not getting transferred over the wire. It is the JSON representation, data representation, technology independent representation of the resource, which is getting transferred. So the name REST. Clear or still not clear? Are you understanding what I'm saying? Some response is required, guys. Okay, a delayed response. I mean, I got it delayed. Okay, so now go further. This is the first thing. What is REST? So that way. So it's a resource-oriented architecture where your server REST provider is going to simply provide the access using the well-known methods, standard methods, and client is going to access those resources and present it to the client. Everything is revolving around uniform resource identifier, a identifier which uniquely describes your resource. And which are the representations your resources can be converted into? Read that. Everyone knows this stuff. So the most powerful, most popular lightweight data exchange format, the representation of resources, JavaScript object notation. Now, which are the verbs? You know, resource is nothing but a noun in the REST jargon. And what are the verbs? These are the 4 verbs. I thought you knew about it, so I did not mention. Anyway, I'll mention. Patch. So if you read this, used to, make, perform partial updates to the resource, becomes extreme resource, becomes extremely handy. If you have a huge state, imagine customer has got some 20 columns, 20 data members, and customer, the front end just wants to send you the new password. So tell me, would you like to update only the password? Would you like to get from the front end only the new password, or all those 19 old values and +1 new value? Am I confusing you? I'll repeat it slowly. I said, if there are 20 members, out of them only one property is changing, only the patch, only the new value you would like to send. And that is when, guys, put cannot be used. If time permits, I can't promise you because it is too much into this. But if time permits, I'll definitely show you put versus patch. And then you'll realize what is it I meant or what is it one means. So coming back to point, get, read only, getting the resource. Post is typically used to create a brand new resource, in short, insertion. This is like a select. This is nothing but CRUD, you know that. Post is for creating the resource, which ends up in insertion of a record. Deleting a resource. Complete update. So put can be used either for updating completely a new resource or creating new resource, but we will use put for update. But that is a complete update. And if you want to do the partial updates, the better version is patch. Okay, so that is it. And then you can read the rest of it also. Please, looking at time, I mean, I'll just ask you. And as usual, Monday morning when we anyway revise, I'll ask you to go through the, we'll go through the whole readme. But the one which I cannot really, what is it called? Skip is this. Mark it as a compulsory, important, whatever, interview held, exam held, whatever. I've said this multiple times. The main difference between a traditional MVC app versus RESTful app is only in the response type. One is B2C, one is B2B, and accordingly. So the annotations are the one which play the important role. So let me show you the example of not REST API. We will enter REST API in a couple of minutes, but I want to show you there are two new annotations you're going to use. Okay, there are some 4 or 5, but the point is I want to show you the demo of response body. So let's do this quickly here. Let's do it in the, am I creating a new project yet? Of course, I'll be creating. We will be creating, but in a later time. So here, let us continue in the same project so that I'll get a chance to show you 2 annotations. One is path variable and one is this thing, a response body. So before I say this, let me explain. 2 minutes. Okay, so because annotations are going to do the job easily. First questions first. Where will this at response body annotation come? Okay, where is the position? It is on the, let me see. Yeah, but controller. But the point is, yes, controller is fine, but I wanted a better answer. In the controller class, 100%. But controller class consists of what? Request handling methods. So is it a method level annotation? Class level annotation? Method argument level annotation? Or method return type annotation? Wrong. Guys, when I show you REST controller, that is a class level annotation. Response body is a return type of a method level annotation. It is, see, read this, read this. It is on the return type of the request handling method. To tell the Spring container, it should not render the Java object to the service side view layer. This is all formal. What I mean in simple English is, skip the view resolver. Your controller is telling the dispatcher servlet, I'm not sending you forward view name, I'm sending you actual data. Are you understanding? This is the most important concept. 2 annotations. One is response body, one is request body. You read this carefully. It is going to come on the return type of a request handling method to tell the Spring container that what is sent to the dispatcher servlet, is it a name of a view layer? Is it a logical view name? Or is it a actual data, pure data? Answer is, it is a raw data. Very right. Okay. So that is your response body annotation. But as I told you, the backend is Java, frontend can be anything. So now this Java object must be marshaled. See the term. Marshalling is equal to serialization is equal to, for us, I'm not talking in .NET, Java to JSON conversion. And the opposite conversion is for, creating a resource, updating a resource. Frontend will send you a JSON. And which reverse conversion has to happen then? Java to JSON or JSON to Java? Of course, unmarshalling. What is unmarshalling? JSON to reconstruction of Java object. Guys, see the words. We had used serialization, deserialization in core Java for Java object to binary, state of Java object to binary and binary to Java. Here the meaning is the same. Binary stream simply replaced by JSON. Okay, so now this has to be done to the Java has to be converted to JSON. So does that mean I as a programmer, as a developer has to pitch in? Absolutely not. Guys, you are sitting in Spring like advanced framework. Why Spring? So many reasons. So there is a, thanks to Spring containers, Spring frameworks, there is a HTTP message converter support. You are not going to do this conversion ever like manually, because one of the dependencies, when you check this checkbox, Spring Web, it supports Web MVC applications, web applications, as well as RESTful API, RESTful Web Service. So there is a Jackson, there's a vendor. There are a lot of vendors for converting Java to JSON. Most popular one is Jackson. Later I'll show you from this Maven dependencies. The moment Jackson jar is on the class bar, Spring Boot is a highly opinionated framework. So it can automatically pull in or do the Java object to JSON conversion, which is marshalling, and JSON reconstruction to Java object in the request body automatically. So only two annotations will do the job. Okay. But now you go a little ahead and understand. Suppose there are 10 request handling methods. I don't know whether to ask these numbers now. I'll try. At the most, you'll give a wrong answer. Imagine, understand the numbers. Suppose in that customer controller or that employee controller, whatever control, product controller, you have written 10 request handling methods. And those all 10 request handling methods are mapped with, annotated with get mapping. What's the meaning of it? What is it they are going to return? They are going to return some representation of resource on the server. I'll repeat the statement. I'm not saying post mapping, put mapping, or that patch mapping, because that will create or update the resource. I'm talking about get mapping, simple get mapping. That is what I start with. Okay. So now, if we had to add this response body annotation, how many times you'll have to add it? Once or 10 times? Did you lose it? Answer is 10 times. On every request handling method ka return type, you have to add at response body. I'm going to give you a demo in 2 minutes. I'm just preparing you. So instead of that, the Spring team, I'm not saying Spring Boot, Spring team decided to ease your burden. So instead of adding 10 times at response body annotation on individual return types, you just add a one annotation at the class level. And what is that annotation at the class level? At the rate REST controller. And what is that combo of? What is that combination of? At REST controller, I must have written it somewhere. Yeah. So see this, read this. At REST controller is a class level annotation. And what does it include? Of course, your controller is not going away at all. You are writing a request handling controller. But plus additionally, what is it going to return? Is it going to return a logical view name? Of course not. Implicitly, response body annotation will be added on the return types of all request handling methods. Example makes it easy. We're going to write employee controller anyway. So listen to this. So I just have to write REST controller. This is my API endpoint. So suppose say /employee or /API/employee something. Here, when you add get mapping, some / whatever, I mean, if you want additional things. So here, when I say the front end is suppose giving me the employee ID through your React forms and Axios and all that. So we will get the employee details from database through these layers. Which layers I'm talking about? REST controller talking to service, service talking to DAO, fetching the data, etc. And when I say return E, E is what? Employee type, which is the implicit annotation added here. Tell me. Which is the implicit annotation at the rate response body. So when such a employee object annotated with at response body annotation is sent to the dispatcher servlet, will it continue to the view layer or will it skip the view layer? Continue or skip? Of course, it will skip the view layer. And this is the time your Spring container uses HTTP message converter API. And since we have added the Spring Boot has done the job for us. Since there is in the runtime class path, JSON jars, automatically the conversion from Java to JSON will happen and the JSON data will be sent back to the client. So I don't want to combine too many things together. I just want to show you a quick demo of response body annotation and then we'll proceed to something called as path variable also. So anyway, let me not combine too many things. Let's just talk about your response body annotation in next 2 minutes, hopefully 2 minutes. Okay, so can I use response body annotation without REST controller? 100% yes. It's just a Spring container, Spring annotation. So continue with this project. Day 18 Spring MVC. Go to, let's say, go to index.page is my, okay, I'm stopping my Spring Boot application so that it doesn't get rebooted, redeployed, and you'll know it in a minute. So here, let's add a link here. I will first add this. I want to pass through the links to this Spring URL. So here, taglib. If you don't want to write it in a fast manner, because actually we are going to do the integration little later. So you can just see what I'm doing. I'm adding a Spring tags library with the prefix of whatever Spring. And here, let us change this itself first. You'll say why you are doing it. Just to make it all consistent. Spring URL value is equal to. Now I can say slash without hesitating. Slash will always correspond to root of my current web application. Here, closing of the tag. And you have to retype this double quote sometime. I don't know why, but yes, it is. So this we had done already. So I don't want to waste time here. And here I want to test response body annotation. Okay. I'm just checking. So let's say slash test slash something. Okay, I'll just give me a second. Slash products. 2 minutes. Don't write it. Let me see test response body. And if I say slash products, it will be mapped to product controller. And let's say products. Yet. Okay, it is becoming too complex for unnecessary. Okay, slash products is fine. So start with the this. Don't worry about where I'm going with this. I'll take you properly. So when the client clicks on this link, what will be the URL pattern, or we can say what will be the URI? So it is slash Spring MVC boot slash products. Everyone understood what I'm saying? I want to show you separately because if I combine it directly in REST controller, you will not understand a word. So now I'll not open, you open the diagram. So it goes to dispatcher servlet to handler mapping. And what will handler mapping return? Null or not null? 100% clear? It's null because I have not written any product controller map to products. Okay. So am I mixing it up in content management system? Not really. But I don't want to waste time in writing another project only for 1 or 2 annotations. So continuing in that. Okay, so what is the next step, guys, I should do in order to get not null? New controller or new method? What should I do? A new products controller / products map to products controller. Then you can have orders controller, customer controller in your e-commerce type application. Okay, so let's do this. New class product controller. I'm not making it as a REST controller. That is 5-10 minutes away. So annotate it with controller. And let's say all the product related actions or the URLs will be handled here. So / products. I hope I'm not making any spelling mistakes / products. Okay. Fine. So this is it. And then you can add a debugging type of this. So I don't think you should have any problem. So in the real scenario, you'll have a service layer, DAO layer, and you will be getting the product. I was going to write some product ID and all. I did not write it. So when I click on the link, okay, by the way, I'll not specify anything. Rather, I'll not explain anything. You check it out. So since already I've serviced this, I don't have to serve anything here. Public product get product details. 2 minutes. I'm explaining everything. I'm creating a simple Pojo. It is not a entity, just an ordinary Pojo, which has, you can have anything. I'll send you this all in exactly 5 minutes. So I'll say ID name and the price. Keeping it simple. The whole detail will be actually later mapped to database. You know that. Parameterized constructor. And since we have not yet shown, I've not shown you Lombok and all that, we have to do all this stuff still. And a string. Okay. Nothing great about it. So is it an entity? No, it's an ordinary plain old Java object class, which will be later mapped to database and all whenever we require. So now, this is like your get endpoint, nothing else. And I'm saying, since I don't have the database and all that, I'm just creating a product, hard-coded sample data. Product name we have. So let's say something, bread. And product price. Oh, I want to show you some more thing. Wait a second. This is the product name. Oh, string. I thought of a date also, expiry date or something. I will add product price. And let me add one more thing. So, I can cover more things with a simple demo. And here, that's why I said I'm going to write this fast. So you just sit back and understand. Hurry. So this, and we will have the additional getters and setters. And I'll just modify the toString. Went wrong. Import was an issue. And then you have a toString. If I had forgotten because I want to show you some things here regarding the date. So product controller, and then I'm saying local date dot say parse. It uses internally date time formatter, and date time formatter's default format is year, month, and day. So let's say 2022. I'm not really paying attention, so please don't hold it as this. Oh, why it is something I went wrong? Went this? Oh, it has to be a long. Okay. Did you notice, guys? What I just did was all core Java. Let me talk to you. Here, see guys, when you are learning advanced Java, that doesn't mean your core Java skills are gone. Here, I had given this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I got a error. Quickly tell me why. We have said this lot many times in core Java. Yeah, so no. I mean, no. I don't want it that this time. Which is the first automatic conversion compiler performs? You remember compiler, you remember automatic conversion, auto boxing, yes. So if you give a int, what it will be, not upcasted, what is it called? Auto box into java.lang.integer, and integer is not upcasted into long. You got me? So I had forgotten that. So I had to explicitly tell compiler, you can use a L or uppercase L, doesn't matter, both are the for long. And then it is doing the proper auto boxing from long to your wrapper long. All clear? We had talked about it, like I said, so many times. Just a refresher. Okay, so now come to the point. Let's come to the point quickly. If I write only this much, what do you think your dispatcher servlet will take this as? If I don't add any additional annotation, what will be this taken as? Your choices are actual product Pojo, or is it a logical view name? What will your dispatcher servlet understand it as? Logical view name. So how to tell the Spring container as a dispatcher servlet that this is not a logical view name to be resolved, but it is an actual pure data. It is a response body. See the word response body. This is where your response body annotation comes in. See, once you see it, I don't have to talk in essays. You don't have to read essays. You just try it out. Making sense completely? So now, what will happen here? Who is sending what to whom? You are sending, your controller, not even REST controller. Your simple ordinary MVC controller is sending response body. I mean, the return type annotated with response body. And guys, the combination of add controller plus add response body annotation is equal to your REST controller. Okay, so the control comes to dispatcher servlet. Dispatcher servlet looks at this annotation and performs, you tell me, marshalling or unmarshalling. What do you think it will perform? Marshalling. Okay, so let's confirm it in 2 minutes and go ahead. So I think I have done all the things. And what is the link I have given is test response body annotation. Let's try this out. I'm launching the Spring Boot app. Always look at the console. All this looks okay. Go to the client-side browser, and here, refresh. And when I click on this, what do you expect to see if all goes well? Otherwise, you might end up seeing white label error. If all goes well, what do you expect to see, guys? Simple question, simple answer. The JSON, exactly. So see here. And are you seeing our famous key value based structure? Everyone recognizes JSON, right? So what is the key and what is the value? This is your key ID. This is nothing but Pojo properties and the whole thing. I mean, aren't you impressed with the capability of Spring? Just one annotation to trigger the marshalling, Java to JSON. And the opposite annotation I'll show you sometime to do the unmarshalling, reverse, what is it called? Reverse conversion, reconstruction of Java object from JSON. And that is just CRUD. Anyone can manage CRUD. I mean, not anyone, but okay, you can manage CRUD. But the whole, what do you say, whole thing goes to a different dimension when you have topic has a tutorial, relationships, or course has student has address, student has hobbies, educational qualification, and that entire object graph JSONized and getting reconstructed or deconstructed. That is when people really appreciate your efforts in projects. Okay, so don't stop at CRUD. CRUD is the starting point, and then take off, and your project requirements will definitely force you to do much more. Anyway, so enough things. So I hope you have understood the what is it called? The meaning of response body annotation. And like I said, I'm stopping the Spring Boot. I'll send you this in a minute, just 2 minutes. So what I wanted to say was, yeah. So here, suppose in my product controller, I've got such 10 request handling methods. Isn't it irritating to add at response body annotation over each getting of the resource? That's why the convenience. So here itself, you replace it by REST controller, and this happens. This is no longer required. Okay, so this was the meaning of response body annotation. Let us spend like this another 5 minutes, and we are ready for talking in full stack and all that. Because without these annotations, you won't enjoy it, you won't understand it. Okay. Read it full and I'll explain. Okay, I'll start explaining. Which is the next annotation I'm going to talk about is path variable. You already know this from React. I'll ask you. If from React, you have done employee, so I'll talk in employee. So if I want to find out a particular employee details, what will be the URL you will be sending from your React frontend? Something like /API, whatever, I don't know what endpoints, but /API /employee let's say the employee ID. So here I'm talking about same concept. So you know the concept of a request parameter. So in this URL, if I wanted to add the product ID as a request parameter, what should have been added here? What would have, this one would have been replaced by what? Question mark, a query string, if it is a get method, and then you have a ID, product ID is equal to 1234. But which is more convenient? The more convenient part is add this data or the input as the path variable or as a URI, as a part of the URI itself. So if this is the incoming URI, how to extract the path variables, how to extract these URI variables, the variables in Java using some annotation. It is extremely similar to your request parameters. Okay, so here, what was the annotation you learned earlier? @request param, where it used to come? Method argument level. So what is path variable? Path variable is for binding these URI variables separated by slashes, can be multiple also, the binding of URI variables to your method arguments. So here, how do you say this? So at get mapping, we're going to write it in a minute. So give me 2 minutes. So here it is a slash, because see, it has our request mapping pattern was only till /products. So /1234 map to /PID. PID is any name. I can say ID, my ID, your ID, whatever. And how do you extract it? So instead of using request param annotation, you simply add a path variable. But suppose this path variable name and this variable name you want to give it separate, you know the answer already. You have to supply the name. So what is convenient? Match them. So listen to the question. This is a path variable name I have given as PID. So here, if I give the variable name, method argument name as PID, is this required or is this gone? Of course, you know it is gone. Okay. So when I do this, which all URLs or URIs will map to it? Can slash product slash one be intercepted be serviced by this request? Yes. Can slash product slash 10 be intercepted? Yes, again, and so can this. Understood the meaning of your path variable? Yes or no? Okay, so let's give it a try in like 2 minutes and move on to REST controller, and I'll explain the React part which I've given you ready-made, and we'll start developing the backend. So let's go here and add this thing, a new link. So add a new link here. Paste the path variable. These are the two new important annotations. Request body annotation I can't show you from the browser. For that, I'll require Postman, which we will start, but little later. Path variable annotation. And suppose I say here, slash products, slash, you'll know in a minute. So let's say the product ID is 123. Then the product name, let's say oil. What else I have in the product? Just a second. Name, price, and this thing, expiry date. Yeah, that is why I got you here. So product ID, name, price. So let's say 200 rupees or whatever, and the expiry date. So let's say 2022, something, month and the day. So shall I send you this? If anyone is trying along with, or otherwise you can just, sit back and understand this. Fine, because finally we are going to use it in our REST controller. So can you tell me, when client clicks on this link, how many path variables, how many URI variables are being sent from client to server? Guys, this is a shortcut. We will never work like that. Your React form will pick up all these product details. The React component will make a service call, and in that service, Axios framework will be using to make a backend call. So that will be the actual flow. So answer me. How many URI templates? 4. Everyone understands it? So what is the separator here? Slashes are the separator. So this much is clear, I hope. And now let's say I'm unfortunately using the get because all I have is a browser. I don't want to waste time in showing Postman just now. So here, if I, okay, sorry, same story as before. Sorry. When I click on this, what will I get? What will your handler mapping bean send? Null or not null? Direct question. 100% null, because you don't have a method with a get mapping. I'll say you have a method with a get mapping for this, but where are the URI variables? So of course that will fail. You can try it anytime. So now what is it you have to add? Sorry, add a new request handling method to read or to process path variables. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a product out of it and send it back just to show you the whole flow. So anyone wants to tell me which type of mapping? When client clicks on the link, what will be the request used? Get. So unfortunately, actually, I'm going to create a product here. So this is not a RESTful demo at all. So still I'm using, because I should be ideally using a post mapping, right? Currently no Postman, so using get mapping. Now tell me, I'll give you a minute. Here, what will come? You will tell me. In the meantime, I'll write something for you. So you're going to give me a lot of answers. It will be replaced by post mapping for creating a resource. Otherwise, after 10 days, suddenly it will hit you that why she was doing get mapping and not post mapping for creating a new product resource. Okay. So guys, let me ask you. Let me see whether anyone has answered. Okay. Yes, this one is right. Prashant is right. Guys, you can't hardcode oil. If you say oil today and tomorrow, let's say grains or biscuits or whatever, books and your VCDs and DVDs and whatever like. So I don't want to hardcode anything. So that is where the template variable comes in. So I asked you, how many variables, path variables, template variables are we injecting? 4. So start. Map it. It is all about mapping. So till/ products already. So here, if you want to remember it, I always ask you not a memory based, ever all understanding based. So this is your incoming URL. So simply slash. So this will map with first slash. Okay, I'll just create a space here. Okay, now you can give any name. So let's say PID. Oh, sorry. Curly braces. Curly braces indicate the path variable. I forgot that. So PID. So that is done. But is there, are you can you inject only one path variable or multiple? So actual will be product ID and all those names, but that's fine. So what is the next thing I'm giving? A product name. What is wrong with me? And then you have suppose a product price. I'm purposefully taking a long example so it will help you later also, and then I can say something. Expiry date. Are you understanding this? Yes. Okay, you can say if you want date, I'll say date. Your choice. Anything. Fine. So this is where you are telling the Spring container or that handler mapping bean that this one is going to be the incoming pattern, and which is the annotation you learned to inject this into method arguments at request param or at path variable. Of course, at path variable. So how many path variable arguments you will have? This is overkill. Guys, I've written, this is not a RESTful demo. In actual RESTful demo, when I want to create a resource, what is it we use? Get or post. Post. And where all these request parameters are gone? In the body of the request. So please, this is no RESTful demo. This is just what do you say, warm up for your path variable. So I've written everything in the actual thing, what will happen. So coming back to the point, let us not waste your time. Path variable. And now let us match it so that it doesn't require any extra stuff. So what should be the argument name? PID or any name? If you say any name such as ID, you have to supply the name. So better is do the matching. So who will perform string to int conversion? Container. Next is, now go faster. Path variable. String what? Name. That's your product name. And the next one is, oh, sorry. I was going to say private double price. Don't worry. I'll annotate it here properly. Okay. Let me put it on different lines, guys. At path variable O. And then we have something like last one. So take a pause here. So what is the data type of your product date? Everyone knows the answer, local date. So recall and tell me, was your, okay, when we were in JSP Java Bean, who had to perform the conversion from string to local date? Programmer or container? P or WC? PID is long. Oh yeah, sorry. Thanks for telling me. Otherwise, again, I would have got this thing. So, of course, the programmer. You remember that? The Java Bean developer had to do this. But here, when you come to such a high-end framework, you definitely expect your Spring container to do the conversion. So let's try it out. As usual, I like to show the problem first and then the solution. And let me give the add path variable here. And here, just satisfy the compiler, return null. Okay, so you can focus on the things which I'm explaining. I'm not going to return null. I'm going to just create a product out of it and return it to the caller. So coming back to the point. What is path variable? Annotation to be applied at the method argument level. What does it do? It does the binding of, you tell me. It does a binding of what? What to what? URI variables to what? Method arguments. Plus, it will also do the URI variables to method arguments. Yes, absolutely. So the next thing, what was I saying? Yeah, who will do the necessary conversion? Spring container. So our web container was also doing string to primitive types. Here I want to check, I want you to understand whether it is capable of doing string to date also. So in a minute, you will see some problems and we'll fix it. And this line is the same. So what I'm going to do is, I just want to return a new product with all this. So what is that? PID. Next one is the name. Next one is the price. And next one is the date. So I'm trying to show you two things in one shot. And of course, alone this won't work. So which is, how do you tell container whatever is following is the body of the response, actual raw body, and not the logical view name, response body annotation. Got something? Path variable and the meaning of it. Okay, let's try it out and we'll see what happens. Attention first to console. Don't even go to client side for testing, as said 1,000 times. Okay, so the first one we have already done. Check it out. I don't know whether anyone was coding along. If you were 100%, you will get white label error page. Don't tell us that. You are a developer, go further. And this is what will tell you. So which type of a error it is? Is it a server side error or is it a client side error? 400 series guys, 4xx client side. And 400 means bad request. I'm telling you a very important project tip. You're going to get this 400 all the times. 4 not 4 is different. That is page not found, resource not found. This is 400. And 90% of the cases, it is the wrong conversion. So it tells you, only thing you panic because you don't read enough. It says, fail to convert the value of string to local date. So it is nothing but what is the root cause? It is the failed conversion, or it is the conversion failed exception. Understood so much? So which part is not working? Which conversions have worked? All other conversions, string to long, string to double, whatever. But which conversion failed? It failed. It cannot convert. Your poor container or whatever container could not convert from string to date. Is the problem clear? Solution will come in a minute. Is the problem clear? So the reason is because if you don't give more information to Spring, the default date time format which your Spring container uses is as per the US locale. And what is that US locale? Month/day/year. Are you getting me? The default locale format, default date time format which your Spring container uses is as per the US locale, which is not HTML5 compliant at all. So last question and the answer. So how do you tell? Okay, by the way, see on the this thing side, server side, it tells you method argument type exception and the whole thing, string to date failed. Okay, so let's fix it in a minute. All answers are in annotation. So how to tell container that this date, the string form of a date is not as per your default convention, but it is as per your HTML file. In short, I want to specify the pattern. So do you remember something? Yeah, so the okay, not that. The question is something. You are right, but I'm coming to that in a minute, Prashant. In core Java, before I took you to what was it? Local date. We used to use date and simple date format. Remembering or not remembering, SDF, very right. And when I took you to local date, I told you the local date dot parse uses the default format year, month, and day. But if you want to change that format, which was the class we had discussed, any memory? Date time formatter. So good news here is you don't have to use any of it. You just use the additional annotation. See the power of annotation. And that annotation is @date format. Read. Declares that a field or method parameter should be formatted as either local date, so date. If you have local time, or if you have local date time, you have the full the timestamp. So currently I'm just interested in local date, I mean this. And what is the format here? The attribute name is pattern. So which pattern? The same pattern we used to give for your simple date format or your date time formatter, which is year, month. Uppercase M, guys, lowercase m will kill you. It is minutes. And that's it. That's it, means we'll test it. But now see the code reduction and replacement by annotations. So this is the instruction to tell Spring Container to do the binding between URI variables and the method argument. And this is the additional annotation to tell the Spring Container that whatever string comes to you, interpret it, parse it as year, month, and day. And let's see whether Spring Container understands us correctly. Check the console and run the whole thing from client again. So you can say simply refresh, and you can see that this was the input. I've just added a JSON parser, some plugins, so you can see it in a proper manner in the browser. So the point is, this is the URI path variables, and it has created it in a product and sending you back the response. So let me send you this because now we are entering full stack. In case anytime you want to try. So this was my attempt to show you a separately meaning of response body, path variable, and date time format. Understood it completely? If you see ever in your project time, HTTP status error code 400, what will you debug? It's a client-side data sending error. So typically used for look for conversions. And most of the times it is string to date kind of a conversion, which you fail to do it string to date, string to time. And that is where you should be debugging. You should be focusing your attention. Okay. So, so all the prerequisites done. The layers which we are going to develop are REST controller, service, what is that? DAO, and POJO and database. But in a minute, let me show you. Has everyone extracted that this thing? What is it called? React app front end and build the dependencies in node modules? If not, do it sometime. So here, I'm just opening it here from here. Opening it with code. And a quick walkthrough of your project, of this project, ready-made project, which I'm sharing. So you know, what is this is React, guys. So start answering. Tell me, I'll just collapse. Yeah. So what is the starting point? It is a single page application. So which is the only page which we keep rendering to the client? Start, switch context from Java to React. No, it's an index.html. I'm starting all this thing. So the page you have under the public folder is, where is that? Index page, correct? And in index page, all you have got is the component with the ID root. So from index.html, go to, which is the next one you will be opening is, which one should I open next for understanding the React flow? Index.js. I don't know what you are saying. So index.js. And this is where we enter React components and React DOM and whatnot. And in this React, we are adding, when you say create React app, all you have is the root component. Root is the one which holds all other our components, component tree, which is your app, and then you enter app.js. So I'm not wasting too much time because this is all known stuff. I should not be wasting. So all this is here. So what are the I asked you earlier? So you have done CRUD. So I'm showing you the CRUD first. So here, which are the components you can see any this, browser routing and all those things. So the component which we are developing first is employee list. Then adding an employee. This is my update employee. And this is the other thing. Other thing means any other path other than slash or add or this is going to be error, not found component. So let us go faster in this. So what I'm going to show you is the components and the employee list. Okay. So it is always considered a better modern programming practice of React is functional style components. So all functional style and that too using the arrow functions. Okay. So this is your use state hook for employees. This is a method. Where is it called? Init method. I think I'm calling it, yeah, from the use effect hook. And I'm giving the dependency array as empty. So how many times this use effect hook will be called when I give the dependency array as empty? Recalling or full Java? Okay, one time, right? So exactly once. This is like your component mounting phase, right? Earlier we had life cycle. Here you have life cycle hooks. So in that I'm calling the init method, and my main job is not teaching you React. You are already knowing that. So here from services is what is of my interest or our interest today in backend. So here I'm calling, I have already imported it, the employee service to get all the employees. I'm not using the async. This you can improvise. React you can improve as much as you want. You know that. So here, in case of success, backend is going to send you console logging it just for debugging. And here I'm calling that setter from that use state hook to set the employees state, employees data here with the response.data. And if you see, forget about delete and all, handle delete will do later. So here you will see the main JSX render function. And here we have list of employees and nothing. You can skip all this styling. And all I'm having is extremely simple. Employee name, location where is working, department, and the actions update, delete, and all. It's just a grid view. And if you see this, the map function. It is like our for each. Okay, and of course it's not for each, it is our not JavaScript streams map function, which will take the every employee. What is the key here? Employee ID, a unique ID. And what I'm displaying in the tabular manner is name, location, and department. And then I'm giving some links such as to update the employee and to delete the employee. The JSX part is clear? Everyone. Okay. So now my main thing is we are building one by one endpoint, right? So what is the process going to be? I have explained you this. Then we are going to, of course, focus on backend. Our focus is on backend, not on this. So here, I just want to show you the employee service naturally. So here, a separate folder you will find services, employee service. Okay, before that, I'm importing some HTTP common. That is where I'm creating the Axios instance. So here, axios.create. So here, okay guys, a tip for you. For those whose 8080 port is not working and you want to reconfigure it, your backend server. I hope now you are understanding. You'll have a front-end app and a backend app. Where will be front-end React app? Which port it will be running by default? 3000. The backend port you can configure. So if you have 8080, fine. Otherwise, in one place, which is that file http://common.js, just change the port number to 9090 or whatever, and accordingly we'll make changes in Spring Boot app. And here, anytime I want to send the request body, typically in put, patch, and post, what will be the content type of that request body? Will be application/JSON. Is everyone clear so far? Axios instance creation. You got this? Okay. And now the main service. So like I said, here. So all I have, this all functional style, best style. So here, this is the first one we are developing. So here, when you say HTTP client, just now you saw, the HTTP client is nothing but that Axios instance. So using Axios framework, front end is making a call to backend. It is so easy. So here, I'm not passing any extra path variables. Here you will see extra path variables for getting a particular employee. So here, this is where we are writing a backend, endpoint, API endpoint, which should return what? See, the name itself is self-explanatory. So what should we send from our backend? Tell me. I hope it is very similar to what you have done in React already. You told me employee CRUD you have done. Is it familiar? Is it similar? Okay, so tell me, what is that backend API? Yes, all employee details. Got it? And then we will start developing each and every endpoint and we'll have a full stack application. Are we kind of clear in the front end? Okay, so what is the process now? We will start writing a full layered backend application with all the things you have studied over last so many days. Especially in Spring MVC. And something else I wanted to say. Right. And we will test our endpoint first with Postman and then connect it to React. So looking at time available, let's get going immediately. So stop the backend server and everything we are going to do today from scratch. Because otherwise you might get the feeling that you're copy pasting from here and there and not getting too much confidence. So let's change that style because it's one of the most important topic for your projects. Okay, so let's start from scratch, guys. Here, let me close everything. Right. So here, start with me, but I'm going to maintain a particular speed. Already it is 12:30. And even if I decide to stretch, which I'll have to, not beyond 2, like 2 is kind of like around 2, I'm saying. So when I give you 10 minutes break, rest, not representational stack transfer, actual rest, so that you can come back and don't miss anything. I'm giving you enough warning. Anyway, so start with me. Spring Starter project. This is not going to take you too much time, guys, because all your dependencies are already downloaded. So don't change a word unnecessarily. This we will have, what is it here? Backend. So I'll maintain day 18 backend. Okay. So just changing this, it automatically changed the artifact ID. So just check Maven fine. Oh yeah. So are we building it as a web application or a web service? Answer is web service. So the packaging is going to be jar. I was thinking I'll show you today, but cannot. That doesn't seem possible. So Lombok, jar creation, war creation, all on Monday. So just change it to jar. This is how the requirement is. And example.com is fine. This is fine. Okay, give the proper, what is the description? Spring Boot project or as React. Okay, as full stack backend, as a backend. Okay, so you'll know what project is what. I've given it anyway, 18 backend. Are we good? Package name is fine. Com app. We are used to it. So, and next is which dependencies? Okay, tell me guys, is it remembering your earlier selection? Spring Boot is extremely friendly, extremely good. The whole idea is to get you started. So start, don't waste a minute. We'll need all. Spring Data JPS, Spring Web and validation. Zero change. Spring Boot actuator, if I get time, I'll show you. But these are the minimum ones. So have you selected all of them? You can add, by the way, nothing like done means cannot go back. You just add a corresponding dependency tag in pom.xml. But generally don't forget. And so all I have selected, this is fine, and say finish. So I hope it has not changed overnight. See, sometimes, it is unlucky day, unlucky as in not lucky, unlucky. And what it does is the Spring Boot just version changes from 2.6 to let's say 2.7, and again it starts downloading. So today is not, I hope, unlucky day. At least in my case, it has finished. Is the project created? All the building and all is done? Okay, 60%. You will reach 100% Yogesh soon. So anyway, I'm discussing things first. So now, what was the step earlier? We had to copy the, what was that? JSP and JSTL JAS. You remember Jasper dependency and JSTL dependency? You tell me, required or not required? Do you think I have to copy JSTL and Jasper dependencies? 100% not. We are not having a view layer in the backend at all. So this is fine. This is cool. Don't even go to pom.xml. Now let's start creating the packages. All packages will create and we'll start developing it in a bottoms up manner. So under SRC main Java, or okay, sorry, just a small break. Here in SRC main resources, you still require the configuration. So why don't you copy the entries from earlier control A, I mean, what is it called? Earlier application.properties, just recently done, and paste it under new project, application.properties, control B. Questions? Do you need to add Spring MVC view resolver related properties? Of course not. View layer one. What will your view resolver do here? This you will still require. Sometime I'll explain. If you are having the port as 8080, I think in my front end I'm keeping it as 8080. Whatever. I have my 8080 port free. You check it. I think that much you can adjust. So if you want, this is a comment. So I'm commenting it. So what is the default port? Then I'm using 8080. If you have a port clash issue, change it to 9090. Another typical norm is whenever you are accessing, front end is accessing the backend APIs, you don't add an additional context path. So if I comment this, what is the default value of the context path? Empty. So see, tie means connect everything to the front end. So here, localhost 8080, I can give API as, but API I don't want to give as the what is it called, context path. You can if you want. And employees is the resource. I told you guys, it is not a SOA, it is not a service oriented, it is a resource oriented architecture. So typical norm is we will not add the extra context path. Please confirm quickly, is your username and password all right? That is the only thing you have to change. Only 1-2 words change between your project and my project. Done that. This show SQL for debugging and auto values. The valid values are create and drop, validate, none, etc. We are using update. Done this much. Can I come to the next point? Okay. So now you tell me, what are the layers we are going to build? Because accordingly, I'm going to create the packages. If you tell me in the bottoms up manner, or okay, top down manner, REST controller, service, DAO, and a POJO. So right click on, not right click, just click on SRC main Java. I don't know which perspective you have chosen. I have chosen the Spring as a perspective because you get a lot of shortcuts. Can you see something, a package symbol? So let's start creating quickly. Okay, sorry, I'll say cancel. Too much quickness is also will kill you. I mean, you won't understand anything. So here, the base package name, I have already given COM app. But since it is a jar, you will not see that servlet initializer, no extra stuff, only the application. The one which is annotated with Spring Boot app. So that I have already explained. Let us not waste your time. So in short, all my packaging should start with which base package? com.app. That was the point. So start doing it fast. com.app. REST controller is a controller plus response body. So I'm still calling it as controller, the package as controller. Com app controller. Then we will have all empty packages, blank packages you create. Keep them ready. com.app.service. Create com.app.dow. And then I'll also create com.app.pojos. Done this much. I forgot to mention as usual. Now this part, I'm not at all going fast. I want you to develop the backend with me. So I'll wait. Decent this. I can't wait indefinitely, but sufficiently. Done this much. And periodically I'll keep sharing also. Don't worry. So while building, we always build it in a bottoms up manner. So tell me, keep that front end in front of you. And the main thing you will have to keep in front of you is the one component employee list. So let us see your understanding. You have done that full stack in this thing, React and Express. So can you tell me which will be the properties of employee Pojo? Answer is right in front of you. Yes, please. I'm just matching it to some existing front end. Everyone knows it. And can I have any property name or the same property name? Any or this thing? Okay, so by default, same. But when you learn Jackson annotations, there is an annotation. Jackson is the guy, is a jar or is a vendor who gives you Java to JSON, JSON to Java all mapping. So there is a property called, I'm so sorry, there is an annotation called as @JSON property, where you can give any property name and match it to the front end JSON properties. But like you said, initially let us make it simple. First day of your full stack. So let us give them the same thing, ID, name, location, department. And accordingly, let's write it. Unfortunately, Lombok is not still done. Otherwise, it would have been a 2-minute thing. Now it will be 3 minutes, no worry. So here you can click on the class. I'll just check. You also check because we are going to have some table. I'm starting from scratch, so no earlier table, nothing. Oh, it did not work. So my service seems to be down. Just a second. My MySQL service is not up. I'll just start that MySQL service. Oh, it is running. Why? Maybe I messed up in the... Oh, I thought my service is down. Sorry. So use back 22. And I'm just saying show tables. We want to start, like I said, is there any employee table? I don't have any employee table, so I can say employees or something. So you can do this on your own. You don't require this. You have been developing Pojos for so many days. Private. This is a Hibernate. I mean, JPA/Hibernate managed Pojo. So keep it all wrapper class. I mean, reference type. Oh, sorry. Keep forgetting things, guys. Sorry. Let us add the base entity first. I expect certain speed since we have talked about it so many times. You can have integer, long, your choice, doesn't matter. Anyway, JavaScript is not a strongly typed language at all. So int ID, and all we will add is getters and setters. And which is the annotation? Here we add is map superclass. And which is the annotation we add here? Exactly one is at ID. Oh, I could be having that. No, no, no. This is a fresh project. I got confused. Sorry. And at generated value with the strategy is identity. Okay. And then you come here and say extends. Do it on your own. You don't require my help. You should not require my help. Name, right? Name, location, department. All strings currently. Later you can add salary, join date, and make it more interesting. Shall I show you right here? I'll show you right here. I was saying that maybe I'll show you in level 2. Who knows how much time we will have. So I'm changing purposefully the name of the front-end property than that of a backend so that I'll get a chance to show you things. And here, let's add the default constructor, parameterized constructor, all getters and setters. Monday morning, first thing you remind me to show you Lombok so that all this bulk of the code will disappear. And if you want, as debugging, get ID. And just writing this is not sufficient. So add our standard JPA annotations. There's no table. It is going to get generated. I told you from scratch. Just check it out in your DAC22 database. Is there no existing table? Because otherwise change the name. That's it. I don't want such a big column. So I'll just reduce the length. And likewise, I have that employee ID as a key, so I'm not saying any unique or anything. So are we done here? At employee, at entity and all that, right? But as I said, the front end is using, I showed you the front end from that response.data, you get employees. And here I'm looking for the property employee.department. And since it is not matching, you will start getting blank values or exception. I forgot something else get in React. So how to tell Spring Boot that, okay, property name is DEPT, but while marshalling the JSON key name should be department. And answer is annotation. These annotations are Jackson provided. So the name of the annotation is JSON property. Marker annotation that can be used to define a non-static method as a setter getter, or it can also come as the field level. So here the name is JSON property. Check. This is from our Jackson jar, Jackson vendor. And here you can supply name is equal to actual name. So I have a quick question. Oh, it's not name, it's a default value. Oh, sorry, it's value, I guess. In default itself, just give me a minute. I think, yeah, the default itself is value. So coming back to the point, when I send employee details from backend to frontend, what is it going to use as the key of that, as one of these key properties? Is it going to use DEPT or is it going to use department? Obvious question. Answer is department. Okay. So guys, tell me, have you completed this Pojo? Or shall I send you? Anytime you want me to send, tell me just clearly, not to this. So anyway, I'll send. Nobody's saying, nobody wants to this thing. Said this. So just check whether I have done all the things, otherwise we'll have a problem later. So which is the layer above the Pojo, which we develop? There's no utils and all. Everyone knows the layer. Which is the layer above Pojo? the DAO layer. And this is where we migrated from JDBC to Hibernate, Hibernate to JPA, the last step in the ladder, Spring Data JPA. Okay, so here, looking at time, I'm just explaining it in a very, very superficial manner. Monday, I'll spend a lot of time in explaining Spring Data JPA. So weekend reading homework. Read, I think I have given you yesterday, just a second. In day 17 help, yeah. In day 17 help, I've given a folder Spring Data JPA. And let me see. Yeah, the minimum thing you should read is regarding Spring Data JPA. So first question, pause here, because I don't want to use the JPA technology. I want a further abstraction of JPA. So let me ask you a simple question. Till the time we were using, what is it called? A Hibernate native APIs. Your DAO layer was Hibernate specific or Hibernate independent? It was Hibernate specific. Did your Spring Boot or does your Spring Boot give you the access, direct access to Hibernate native API or not? Answer is no. You remember yesterday what happened? We started getting those exceptions, session context not found and persistence context exception and all that. So what is it we were forced to do? We were forced to shift from Hibernate APIs to JPA APIs. JPA compliant, very right, Akshay. You got me? So we gave up all the org.hibernate.session and the session factory and all the stuff, and we entered into entity manager. Sessions is the sub interface, super interfaces. Java is not persistence dot entity manager. And then you saw we could inject directly that entity manager in the DAO layer, and we worked it out. Understood all the statements? Has everyone seen it yesterday fully? Okay. But now see the point. The point is, read this. Whenever you are talking about a DAO layer, whether it is a JPA compliant, agreed, it is reduced, it has thinned down. Whether it is a JDBC, which was a thick one, or Hibernate or whatever, still, when I talk about DAO layer, essentially it has what? CRUD APIs. So, Spring team, I'm saying Spring team. Am I saying Spring Boot team? Absolutely not. Meaning. Can you use Spring Data JPA framework even in the legacy Spring applications without boot? 100% yes. Only thing is that dependency you have to add explicitly. Okay, so here DAO layer is still containing. If you ask me what boilerplate code, I'm saying not the code lines, but still you have to. If I talk about your product-based system, you have to create a product, which is what? Entity manager.persist. Are you getting this? You have to delete a product, manager.remove. You have to like update the product, merge, etc. So everything is revolving around CRUD. So if you simplify further, if you abstract it further, what is it we are talking about is complete removal of DAO interface or DAO implementation, or both or neither. Answer is implementation. So can you just imagine the kind of code reduction and the powerful things we are using? So look at this. Spring Data JPA framework takes this one step forward. Already we have climbed so many steps, and remove the DAO implementation totally. And the DAO interface is the only artifact, only layer you have to maintain. Only thing is, of course, if I just say like, guys, what is it? Public interface, I employ DAO, that is meaningless. So Spring Data JPA framework gives you excellent two interfaces. The sub interface, okay, this I'll go in the supermost manner. Supermost is repository extended by CRUD repository. There is another one which is called as a paging and sorting repository. And finally, the sub interface which we are going to use for extension is JPA repo, JPA repository. So here onwards, all our DAO layer interfaces will extend from which interface? Answer is JPA repository. So if you check, all this is weekend free time activities. I have given you a full documentation. This is the Bible, the guide for Spring Data JPA. This is nothing but a complete reference documentation. Of course, I don't expect you to, this is an older one. Older one means, 2020, like, yeah. So you can go for, okay, why don't I show you? Forget this, Google. So just open Spring Data JPA Java Docs. Spring Data JPA Java Docs. And you will see the first link, docs.spring.io. Spring.io is the website which maintains all the Spring projects, Spring Data, etc. Open that. And this is the documentation we will refer to. This is pretty latest. 2.6.1 is being used currently. Okay. And which is the main thing we are going to use? Where is the starting point for all of us? So Control F, search for JPA repo. This annotation you don't even require. So look for JPA repository. Tell me, what is it? Is it an interface or is it a class? You can, okay, you can answer that easily, interface. And can you see? So OS, which is the module we are entering? Data access. And later I'm going to show you the data access with JDBC also as a quick demo. JPA part and the repository. So what are the super interfaces? CRUD repository, paging and sorting. You don't have query by example. And the ultimate interface is repository. It's a marker interface. And that is extended by CRUD and paging and sorting. And finally by your JPA repo. So let us go a little faster. Generic interface or non-generic? Easy question. So can you guess easily? What must be this T and what must be this ID? T is what? T is a type, but type of what? Yeah, I know T is type, but type of what, guys? That is missing. Yes, please. Data type, no. Better answer. Type of the entity. Type of the entity, POJO. So if you are managing employee as a resource, what is it we are going to create in the next minute and then give you a break? Public I employee DAO, or you can say employee repository, that is how they are calling it, extends from JPA repository. T will be replaced by what, guys? Employee, POJO type. And this ID is the unique ID property. That is what you are answering me. So that is employee comma integer. If you say long, employee comma long. And once you get this, interfaces alone are useless. I mean, I won't say useless, but yeah, pointless, insufficient. So there is already created implementation class. And again, I'll explain proxy pattern and all that on Monday when we have more time. So you will see this is that implementation class Spring supplied. And I hope you remember this. Do you remember? Okay, sorry. You know both these annotations. Where we used to place this annotation at repository? On which layer? Controller, service, DAO, or POJO. Of course, DAO layer. So it is nothing but a DAO layer. And they have also added transactional annotation here. But even though it is added, we are going to maintain a service layer and add the transactional there also. So that when the controller, REST controller calls the service layer method, a transaction will begin, and it will get over when the service layer method is over. So you can see this all later. It's a better deal. It's a more powerful API than your good old plain JPA entity manager. Okay. And what it brings you is like, I mean, invaluable. So there are a lot of methods, but I'll tell you in a nutshell. All those CRUD operations such as persist and all those things are okay. Let me sell Spring Data JPA to you in a minute. If I want to find, answer is all here. If I wanted to find all the employees without Spring Data JPA, what is it we would have done? Written a DAO implementation class, annotate it with @repository, inject entity manager, and then you would have said, yes, em.entitymanager.create query, which JPQL, selecting from employee, all employees I want, and comma employee.class and get result list. So you tell me, do you want to write that much of a code? That itself is a less code, I agree. But I'm telling you lesser, least. So do you want to write it, or do you simply want to use inherited method find all? So when you say find all, what is it returning you guys, list of all these things what I said. Spring Data JPA repository does it. JPA repository does it for you and gives you list of persistent entities. I hope you are suitably impressed and interested in learning Spring Data JPA. Okay, so let us do only, am I saying let us do that? Or okay, we'll just build a one minute DAO layer and we'll stop here for a break. So the Pojo is done with everyone. So let us climb to the next layer. Now your DAO layer will get over. But guys, let me not fool you. Because I should not be telling you something which is not so honest. This is only as easy as it gets for CRUD, for a standalone entity. The moment you enter into relationships, I'm not saying it is difficult, but it gets little more involved, and I will definitely try to fit in the practice for that also. Okay, so let's write the DAO layer and stop for a break. So here, click on ComApp DAO. What is it we are going to create? You tell me. Class or an interface? C or I? Only the interface. So if you stick to our earlier naming convention, we would have written I employee DAO perfect. But I mean, when you read the tutorials and the things on the network, you will see they call it as a Pojo repository. So what is the name of the Pojo here? Employee. So either you call it as I employee DAO or employee repository. Both are the same. Okay, so I'm following some standard norms. Employee repository, nothing but your DAO layer. Tell me, this standalone interface, useful or useless? Totally useless. So what should it extend from? What should be the super interface for this? Extends from JPA repo, JPA repository. And while this thing, what is it called? While control spacing it, auto completion, please check. We are entering OS data access module with JPA repository. And change this to Pojo type employee. And here, of course, it is a wrapper type integer. So initially, for simple CRUD operations, it will be all empty. And then you will see the magic of Spring Data JPA, where you will still write some methods and the implementation code will be generated by the framework. So this is a good time to take a break. I will create a project zip if anyone has not completed it so far, and will continue to your service layer and the controller after 10 minutes break. Okay, make it 15 minutes, but stay with me till 2:25 time. I mean, till whatever I stretch. Where are we? Day 18 backend. And let me send this to you. Okay, so I've sent you the day 18 backend, and we will complete your service layer and controller. Test it just one endpoint to begin with, just one API to get all the employees. And once we will test it with Postman, and then we will test it with React, and then go to the next endpoint. See you in 15 minutes. Eat quick snack or something if it is too hungry for you, or I mean too late for you for lunch break. See you at 13:15. I mean 1:15, please. So the layers which we have developed so far in the backend application is your Pujo, which has all the annotations of your JPA, not even a word of Hibernate. And then we've just created a employee repository. You can call it as iEmployee extending from JPA repo. And that has got that it is going to give you so many ready-made methods. So start answering. Which is the layer above the DAO layer which we create? The layer above the DAO is service. So generally I'm saying, since, okay, this is a project tip, guys. So as it is, your DAO layer has reduced to zero. As reduced to zero means what? The implementation class is all gone. So instead of directly injecting, repository as in DAO layer into your controller, it is better to add a service layer interface. So let's do it. Let's do it in a proper manner. So com app service interface, iEmployee service, and we are going to build one by one breakpoints. Endpoints I meant. So it is going to return the list of all employees. And here you can add this get all employees. Any arguments or no arguments here? Everyone knows no arguments. That front end, that JSX component, that JSX is going to deliver all the employees without any criteria, just an employee list. So done with the interface. So here you have to write an implementation class, and which is what you are which is where you are going to see the Spring Data JPA magic. So let's write an implementation class. See, employee service IMPL, and let it implement iEmployee service. Got it? Start telling me what will be the annotations. What will be the annotation to tell that this is what is containing the business logic? Same. You know all this at service. And even though that repository implementation has at transactional, it is advised to begin and end the transaction in the service layer. Okay. So at transaction, more on the transactions little later. Tell me, have you reached here? I want you to do it in a parallel manner since it is an important exercise. Done? Can I continue? Okay. Now, here, go in a systematic manner. You will not make mistakes. Tell me, what will be the dependency of the service layer? It's a DAO layer interface. And how do you do the wiring? The hard-coded manner, tightly coupled, never, auto wire. And what is it we are going to auto wire is your employee repo. I can say employee. Done so much, reach here. So do it in a proper manner. Don't miss out things. Service transactional, and the dependency is going to be the DAO layer interface. Done. And this is where you are, like I said, I hope everyone remembers, we have not written a single line. We have not written an implementation class at all. So I showed you the method. So here, which is the method, little bit of API is compulsory. Method of JPA repository. But what is JPA repository? It is a super interface of DAO layer interface, and you are going to use the you are going to use the inherited method find all. So that inherited API, and what is that method? It's a interface method. So public list of type T, and that type will be replaced by employee, and the method name is find all. Okay, so here all you have to do is one liner, employee repository dot, you can see these are all the ready-made methods. These are the methods declared in JPA repository and its super interface. CRUD repository and paging sorting repository, whose implementation is going to be given by Spring Data GPA framework. So that's it. Tell me when you're done. It's a like I said, it is ultimate reduction. There's one more level of reduction, but I'm not discussing it to you. I mean, you don't have it. So this is done. So which is the layer above the service? And we are building one by one endpoints, you know that. So which is the most interesting layer? Is it going to be a controller or REST controller annotation? REST controller. But what is the REST controller annotation? At controller, it's a combination of two. At controller, class level. At response body, method level. Method argument level, right? So let us write that. So come to the ultimate, whatever, super layer, I mean, top layer. And here, create a class. And since we are serving a resource, employee, there's no actor and all that. So I'm just calling it as an employee controller. If you say, okay, under admin role, you can add employee, remove employee. Under the employee role, you can see your details, etc. That you can add later. So currently, just employee controller. And here, let's start with the annotations. That is why I spent so much time earlier. Read. A convenience annotation that itself is annotated means what? It is a combination of at controller plus response body. And types that carry this annotation are treated as controllers, where request mapping methods assume response body annotation. Everything you can read later. One annotation does the job. And here, now let us continue with our pattern. Is request mapping annotation mandatory at the class level or optional? M or O? Optional but recommended. So open that React app and tell me where is my service. So here, okay, not in service. It is in that HTTP common. Sorry. So here, can you tell me what is it I should add at a what is it called? At a class level? Request mapping class level. Just employees. What about /API? I'm not going to give any context path. So /API/employees will be the value of the annotation. Okay. So /API to specify that it is a backend API, you can drop it anytime. It is always resource oriented. So don't forget to add the name of the resource which you are serving. So here it is, employee. Have I done the plural or singular? Just a second. Employees. It is also considered a good programming practice to add the plural because it can send multiple resources. Do the matching properly. So at REST controller, at request mapping, and all of this. Just to confirm whether it is getting, started the singleton eager lifecycle in constructor of get class. And here, let us add a request handling method. This part is same. That is why we spent last 2-3 days in Spring MVC, because the basis of REST API is still Spring MVC. Nothing, no change. Only the view layer is changed. View resolver is gone. Model attributes are gone. HTTP session is gone. Add request handling method to send all employees to the caller, and that caller is nothing but going to be the front end. Initially testing with the postman and then the whole thing. So here why I'm saying get mapping, because we are getting the resource. We are not adding a new employee information, neither updating nor deleting. So get mapping. And here you check with our React. So now you open this, and here I'm not adding anything extra. So in short, only get mapping, no additional path or URI. And here, anyone wants to tell me what should be the return type of this method? String. Okay, I'll not give you choices. What should be the return type of this method? You know the answer. It is going to be automatically, implicitly annotated with at response body. So don't say at response body. Only one employee. Guys, I'm saying all employees, list of employees. Yes. So today, since it is your first day in full stack, I'm saying list. And later I'm going to give you so many projectives where we will wrap it in something called as a response entity. All these later. So let's have list of employees as this, and you can have the method name, doesn't matter. I mean, don't give a weird name. Get all employee details. So answer that. Here, are there going to be any information, more path variables or request parameters coming from the front end? Answer is no, because it is getting all, right? So in get all EMPS and all, oh, sorry, I forgot. I should have done it systematically. What is the dependency? The dependency of the controller is equal to REST control. REST controller is equal to controller plus at response body. You know that. So it is a service layer interface. Wire it. Private I employee service. Okay. So dependency injection makes the whole thing so clear. I mean, so loosely coupled. And all I'm doing is return employee service dot get all employees to the caller. See the amount of code reduction. We are done with the first endpoint. Later, we will add validations and whatnot, global exception handling, and make it richer. I'll take the example of a relationship also. But initially, first day, this is good. Finished, completed. Can I move on? Done. So we are moving on to the testing. I don't want to connect it to React first, because then you don't know whether the problem is in your front end or a back end. So let me check on this. I think we are good. So let us run this project as a Spring Boot app. So right click on day 18 backend application, run as Spring Boot app, and watch the console. If there are any problems, we should fix it first. So everyone knows automatic table creation of Hibernate. So create table employees will confirm it. And it is also, it has started that Hikari connection pool, etc. And it has also started your controller service implementation class of DAO already supplied with Spring Data JPA. Just check quickly. This are not yet started. I just want to check the database. Describe employees. Everyone is clear? Oh, sorry. Is the table created or not? Check it in the database, please, and tell me. Table is created. So that means your Pojo and everything is working fine. But there is no data here. So add some simple this data, because we have not yet written that endpoint. Add an employee. And the post mapping is still missing. So insert into employees values. It's an auto increment, so I can say default. You know, a department. Let's say HR. Oh, single quotes. I'm sorry. And then the location. Then the name. Oh, employees. Oh, spelling. Let's add some more values. Something. 1 or 2 records. I mean, that's okay. So enough records for testing. So just check. Okay. So we got some data. Now open. Actually, for this, we can also check it from the browser. It's just a get method, correct? Yeah, employee spelling was wrong, I know. So the I'll just check it with the this thing browser, and we'll also check with Postman in a minute. So anyone wants to tell me, is our endpoint up and running? Is our REST server up and running? Yes. Which is the context path we have? Blank. Why it is blank? Because I've commented that what was that, servlet context path, server.servlet context path. So and I'm running it on the port number 8080. I don't know about you. It is all taken instructions from application properties. So anyone wants to tell me, this is a testing, we have not yet connected with your front end. So anyone wants to tell me what should be the API I should supply? So localhost 8080, obviously. After that, please give me the URI. Let's see. Okay, 8080, 1990, whatever. Sakshi, you are absolutely right. API employees. And tell me, are you getting a JSON array corresponding to the list corresponds to JSON array? And this is your individual employee details, which are there in the backend database. In short, is it working or not? First endpoint. It is working. Great. And please launch your Postman. You must be knowing. I don't know. Do you create a collection? You can create a collections in the Postman, and all your project endpoints, keep it that way. So here's the collection. No, yeah, here is, you can create a new collection right now. Just let's test this. So I'll give the same endpoint, same URL. I don't require Postman for doing, but soon we'll be starting with post and put and whatever. So we'll definitely require. And you can see the Postman data. I mean, the same data, of course. So as you can see, all the data, you must be knowing all this tool. So here is the button to copy it on the clipboard, and you can open it in a text editor and check properly whether it is actually reflecting the data. So this is your end-to-end. End-to-end means not yet connected to React. We'll connect to the React in a minute. Has everyone got it from browser as well as Postman? Working fully, working fine? You let me know. I'll proceed to React. Okay, so now let the backend be running. And here, you must have already built npm installed it. So let me simply say npm start the front-end project. If you see in the meantime, I have already mapped this route. If you see my app.js, I have already mapped this route, that is path/exact path, to employee list component. So let's see whether it is fetching the data from the backend. Of course, it will not. And that is where we discuss the problem and the solution. Not fetching, yeah. So debug and tell me, Prashant. It won't. It is not going to fetch the data. So if you want to do the debugging, what is it you're going to open? Only survival guide, inspect tools. Okay. And here, unless until I show you the problem, how will you remember the solution? So if you see the console, it tells you. I hope you are knowing about this. Otherwise, I'll show you anything. So see this, read carefully. Can you see this? Open your inspector tool, inspect option, and open this. Access to XML HTTP request. That XML HTTP request object is created by your Axios, and it is saying from this and this backend API from origin has been blocked by the CORS policy. So tell me. And it is telling you further, there is no access control allow origin header present in the requested resource. Seen it earlier? I don't think you would have seen it earlier. Have you seen this earlier? CORS failure, failed to load resource. In no, I'm not talking about your individual understanding. I'm talking about earlier training, React and full stack MERN training. You wouldn't have seen, guys, because you were using JavaScript framework in front end and a back end. Back end was Express.js, but it was from the same origin. I don't know whether you have seen it or not. But now we are sending the APIs or the response from the other origin. So the last solutions are easy, but you have to understand the problem first. Give me a sec. All these I have written in that annotations. So we just have to add an annotation. But before I add the annotation, you understand the problem. So here, see, it was working with Postman because Postman is not a browser client. Okay. Now, where is your React script? Where is your React project running? In the browser. So here, the first I'm starting with what is, okay, forget that. This is the answer. In 1 minute, it will get over, but read. What is CORS? CORS stands for cross origin resource sharing. So when you say cross origin, what is origin? Origin is nothing but the server. It can be domain, it can be a port, it can be a protocol, anything. So CORS, cross origin resource sharing, is the HTTP header based system which allows the server to send the responses and which will allow the browser. This is all because of the browser. We are telling the browser and that this is the server sitting in one particular origin and it should permit the loading of the resources. In simple English, okay, you read the rest of it. Currently, I have not added, I as a backend developer or your REST controller, we are not adding one header. So which is the header it is looking for? Access control allow origin header is not present in this. So your browser, what is the port number where it is listening? 3000. What is the port number where your backend is running? 80, 80, 90, 90, something else. So is it the same origin or is it from the different origin? Same or different? Of course, it is from the different origin. So unless and until you add this header allow, access control allow origin, it is not going to allow any accessing. Who is not allowing? Is your browser blocking it, the front end blocking it, or is the back end blocking it? Tell me. It's the browser, front end is blocking it. So it's a one annotation which does the job. So what is that annotation? Read further. The annotation name itself is @cross origin. So read this. Here, I've taken a different example, but React client still. React client is running on here and Spring Boot RESTful service is running on some other origin, 8080 and all that. So in such case, client should be able to consume. Client is the consumer. Backend, the React front end is a consumer. Backend is the provider. So by default, for the security issues, it is all disabled. So how do you enable it? One annotation, guys, that is all it takes. Add cross origin. And if you don't add this origin property, the default value of origins is star. Star means what? Allow any server, accept the response from any server. So just do one thing at the back end. Let it be running. It will get reloaded. See, our backend thing is running fine. But what is not acceptable, who is not accepting the response is the front end. So go to this. Where is our employee controller? And simply add one more annotation. Anywhere, the sequence doesn't matter. Cross origin. And when you don't supply any origins property there, origins equal to star. But that could be little, what is it called? Security prone. Suppose if you're connected to the internet, anyone, it is like vulnerable. So typically you supply the origins, and which is the only origin to which no access controller, that course header will be sent, you supply. So it can be, just a second, see this, I mentioned it all here. So here you can supply the whole URL, that for this, anytime the request comes from this endpoint, I'm so sorry, from this front end, set the allow course header policy. Cross origin resource sharing is so much to say. So here, let me add, actually with localhost also it works. I mean, just localhost, let's not take chances now. Localhost, and which is the application, front end application running on 3000. So just confirm whether your backend is redeployed. So in my case, I observe, I'm clearing the console and try this out and tell me. Sorry. So you can just refresh it and tell me, seeing the data lifted from the database or not? Are you getting any exceptions on the console? Working fine? Okay. So that is your first look at full stack app. Understood everything about it? You can later open the dev tools and, look at the headers, and you can see the response header setting, that course header, allow that cross origin request sharing will be all set. So first first endpoint, getting all employees clear. Can we move on to the next one? Okay, so let's move on to the same process I'm going to follow. So let us now create the resource. But before we go anywhere, just check the front end code because it has to match. See, either you write a backend, you are going to work in project team. So some of you will be developing a front end, some of you will be developing a backend. So have a proper conversation dialogue with the team members, identify the specs and match it. Otherwise it will not work. Something else I wanted to show you guys. I forgot to show you. I'll show you now. Here, which is the key it is sending? Is it DEPT or is it department? I mean, obvious question, department. So you remember which annotation we used? I can have any Pojo property names. How do I care? But if you want to change it from the front end, just add a JSON property at the rate JSON property annotation. So you have so many Jackson annotations. Then you can just match it with the front end. Okay, so now I was going to show you my other component. Let's say close all, and you can open. Next component is add employee. So most of the thing is repetitive. So here is the function, arrow function, add employee. All this state, use state hooks. So set name, set location, set department. ID is going to be generated. So the same component I'm using for adding as well as updating employee. So show me your Hibernate understanding. Listen to the question. I'll try to speak slowly. I said the same component, there's no component such as update employee, okay? So I'm reusing the component add employee for inserting a new record as well as updating the existing record. Okay, so I'll give you further things. So use history hook and that's fine. Use params hook. So when you say use params hook, this is nothing but a request parameter. It's in Spring Boot it is at the rate request parameter. In our React hooks, it is a use params hook. It's the same. So coming back to the point, let me phrase the statement. How will your Hibernate know? We will create two endpoints, but I'm asking you a question to check your clarity, whether to insert the record or whether to update the record. I have asked you all this earlier. I said, we will manage two endpoints, no worries. But how will think like Hibernate? Hibernate means any JP implementer. How will it know whether it has to insert the record or update the record? Same ID update. Your closest Akshata. Dirty checking is yes. No, there are no methods. Prashant, you are going to see in what that CRUD repository, there's one method, only one method, save. There's no save or update. ID checking is the correct answer. So tell me, if the value of the ID is null, not specified, what will it take it as? Insert or update, transient or detached? Of course, insert. So it is a transient to persistent transition. And if you have the ID value which is not null, see the check if ID and all that. So if the ID value is not null, what is it going to do is, of course, detached to persistent. I said all that in the session API day, and that is how we are having the different endpoints called. Okay, so forget update. Update, I don't know whether we will finish today. Let's see how much. So go to the else part. And in this part, you can see the JSX is easy. JSX is just a form, which is what? Adding employee. So it should be add or update employee to be precise. And you can see the binding and all that, the this thing on change handler. And somewhere, yeah. So on the click of a button, save employee. What is the name of the button? Save, sorry. So which is the function we are calling is save employee. So look at save employee. So this is your save employee, preventing the default form submission. What is happening here? We are just creating an employee object with the values which are bound to this form data. And if ID will be false, I mean, it will be null because I'm not adding the ID in that case. In the else branch here, this is what we are calling. So open the employee service. Okay, sorry. What is it I'm passing is the request body. Okay, so this is what is a JSON request body. And this is what will be sent from the front end to back end. Keep all these things with you because accordingly you are going to see more annotations. And then open my employee service. The next one. So if you want to create a resource, which is the mapping you'll use? Obvious question. Get mapping, I mean, get, put, post or delete for creating a new resource. Of course, it is post. And all I'm calling it on that Axios instance, which is created in HTTP Common JS, I'll calling this post. And what I'm sending is as the data. So answer the question. This data, which is nothing but an employee JSON, is it going to be added as request parameter, URI variables, or request body? Three options. Of course, body of the request. So keep this with you, and we will write the backend for that. Okay, so you can come to this. If we are see all these queries and all now, let me not waste time. So I'm stopping the Spring Boot app because we are adding things. And I'm asking you the questions in a bottoms up manner as always. So if I want to insert a new record, add a new employee, do you have to make any changes in the database? Oh, this is not database. Of course not. Automatically insertion will happen. Same questions I've been asking you. Any change in the POJO? Quickly, no. Here, we used to add, okay, you tell me, change in the DAO layer or no change in the DAO layer? See, this is our DAO layer. So change or no change? Here the answer is, already you are sitting with a powerful Spring Data JPA framework. I'll show you in a minute. So I hope you have found it out. I mean, you have this. So there is a JPA repository extending from CRUD repository. And if you go to the CRUD repository, a super interface, there is a method called as save. So here, see this. Saves the given entity and use the returned instance for further operation as the save. I mean, whatever, like what goes in, let me say this in our familiar word. The input can be either a transient or a detached POJO. And what it is going to return is always the persistent entity. So I asked you a minute earlier, how does your Hibernate know what you are passing is transient or detached? That is done with the ID checking. So if the ID value is null, what will it take it as? Transient or detached? Transient. Insert a record or update a record, insert a record. Are you getting me? And the moment you give an entity, we are going to do that put method also. I mean, updating the updating employee details. So at that time, will you change a method? Is there a method such as update or save or update? Answer is no. So the same method will be using, but this time, what will you be passing here? Detached POJO containing the change state, or will it be a transient POJO? Of course, detached. And we will take everything from the front end. We'll have a form. So we'll be filling up the data, whatever. Suppose salary has to be changed, department has to be changed, etc. Oh, salary, we don't have location, maybe, whatever. So then again, we'll be passing a detached POJO. Who will perform what? Hibernate will perform. Why I'm saying still Hibernate? Because our standard default persistence partner for Spring Boot is still Hibernate. So Hibernate will perform automatic dirty checking, and then it will realize there is a corresponding record in the database, and this time update query will be fired. You got the statement? We have made it really lot of times. I've taken you hopefully in a gradual and proper manner. So anyway, let's first check it out. So in short, the point was, do I have to make any changes here? Do I need to add anything here? Answer is no. The interface, which is the super interface of JPA repo, is a CRUD repo, already contains the method. So leave it as it is. Service layer, I would always recommend. Currently, you will say, okay, I can inject whatever employee repository. You are right. But over time, you will require a separate layer. So we are doing this. So add this fast. And let's return the employee back to this. So employee, add employer, save employer, whatever, add employee details, anything. And here, oh, employee itself. So to keep your memories and all that, so I'm giving it as the name transient employee. We will write the other endpoint where we pass the detached employee to this. Got it so far? Let's write the implementation, add the implementation. What is it I'm doing? Override implement methods. And here, again, all I have to call is the employee repo. Dot. So many methods it has given. I mean, it's like endless discussion. So it's, see, Spring Data JPA itself is worth spending 2-3 days on it, which we are not spending, don't worry. But the in goes the transient POJO and a minute here. So see this. Transient means what? You remember? It is not part of L1 cache, neither part of L1 cache nor database. It just exists in Java heap, server-side heap. But what it returns is the persistent entity, I told you. But guys, now when the method is returning, this whole layer is marked with transactional. So tell me, what will this method return? Yes, please. I want the adjective, obviously. Transient, persistent, detached, or removed. Very right. So all it is going to return is the detached employee. Return to what? To the upper layer, to the controller. Controller is controller. You know, it is all the same. You got this? And so how do you confirm what I'm saying is correct or not? You can make the changes like I showed you today morning itself, or yesterday, I don't remember. Today, I guess, that combining update visits or something. So same thing. Write out anything and everything. Writing the changes becomes so easy with such a less code. And let us add a new endpoint. So where should I add the new endpoint? Where is that web layer or the presentation? This controller. So here start telling me. So add request handling method to insert new employee details, which is what we are doing is create a new resource. And whenever you are creating a new resource, what is the method to use? Post. Here you are getting list of resources, getting resources. That is why you use the get. So which is the annotation we have to use? Everyone knows it. Get mapping or post mapping? Post mapping. And here, let's see this. Let's add this method. Suppose as a this, actually my front end doesn't require, but just as a help, let me return the whole resource employee and add employee details. Method name can be anything. Okay. Now, pause a minute. In this method, who is sending what to whom? Your front end is sending the JSON representation of resource, representation of state is sent from the front end to back end. So what do you expect here to happen? What do you want here to happen? Marshalling or unmarshalling? Simple question, simple answer. Unmarshalling. So which is the conversion we are talking about? Unmarshalling is equal to deserialization, is equal to conversion from JSON to Java. A better name, conversion from technology independent data representation to technology specific Java object. Later you are learning .NET, so it can get converted from JSON to .NET object that way. Okay. So the point is, for that, which is, okay, what was the annotation we used for marshalling? Which was the annotation used for marshalling? Response body. So, which is the opposite annotation for unmarshalling? Obviously, @ request body. So, guys, weekend homework, compulsory for your own good, you know that. So, here, read this quickly and we'll use. So, let's use the opposite annotation. And response body was coming on the return type of your request handling method. This will be added as the method argument level, because the whole method argument is not a path variable, not a request parameter, but it is the body of the request. And the moment container sees this, it will perform deserialization is equal to unmarshalling, and we'll see whether we can get it at all. So again, with annotations, I hope you're enjoying the whole thing. And I can say here, employee E something. And always test, since it is your first time we are building the whole thing. And then you have to call, controller has to call the service layer method and return the results. So what was it? Employee service dot add employee details E. Are you finding it easy? A lot easier than our earlier efforts and all that. Okay, first day nothing sounds easy. Still, I'm taking the risk of asking you. Lost or clear? Clear? And like I said, after you revise, after you practice, you'll get an ultimate clarity and you will not somewhere in the middle. Okay, that's a honest answer. So here, anyway, you have a whole weekend coming up. I'm not even in the lab to trouble you. So take the whole free time and somewhere reach a better clarity. So let's try. Have I done this? Okay, so let's try with the, don't go into directly React. Of course you can, but the point is we could have made some problems. We could have some bugs. So I'm just checking here and Postman. So let's add a new tab here. And here, everyone knows working with Postman. So which is the method going to be changed to post? What will be the URL? I'll just copy it from here. Same URL. Okay. But I want to send the request body. So everyone knows this, right? So I don't have to waste time. Yes or no? Tested all of it with this. Okay. So here, so add the body, which is the body content, raw body. What is the data transfer representational format? JSON. Which header it will set? Request body content will be application/JSON. And I don't want to waste time. So I'll just take this, pick up this. So I mean, I can send you. I don't know whether you require or not. So here, If I do it this way, if I pass the ID, what it will act as, update or insert, transient to persistent or detached to persistent. Of course, detached to persistent, get rid of it and add a new user. Okay, Mumbai, any this, whatever like. Okay, so you can beautify the whole thing. Beautify just a what? Formatting. So are we doing correct here? ID, you miss out, I mean, you remove the ID and all this and send this and check here, sorry, the response. So you should see the automatic ID generation. We have that MySQL and strategy and all that. So just copy it and show it because it may not be visible with this font. So this was a response of the first endpoint, get all. This is your next one. So it has generated the ID with the name. Don't trust it so blindly. Check in the database and it should indicate, it should add a new record with the data. Tell me, worked? The new endpoint worked fine? Okay, so guys, this is systematic testing. So I told you you're going to build the project in teams, right? So do the backend testing completely with the Postman. Let React frontend get tested, test scripts and all. You must be knowing already how to write React test cases, unit test and integration test. Test it separately and then do the integration. Don't blindly integrate. Okay, the next one. I am stopping here. Just 2 minutes. Okay, 5 minutes. So here, connected to your React app. I just zoomed it little this thing. So let's say add employee, department, location, somewhere. Okay, Nagpur. So save this and you should see the record added here in the front end. That's a view layer and it should reflect the record in the backend. Tell me, end-to-end testing, full stack testing, working or not working? Oh, sorry. Working fine. So I hope I have given you enough confidence that when you go to the high-end frameworks, understanding takes time, I agree, but the actual code reduces so much. Okay, so you tell me, you want to try delete today or on Monday? Whatever you say, update last. Update is little not tricky as such, but yes, you want to continue to delete. Monday, I got the response, quick response. Okay, guys. So, of course, you have to like go through so much. We have done so much. So much means mainly Spring in this entire week. So go through starting from Spring basic container, core container. Aniket, you are unfortunately, I am with you, but we are in minority, guys. So here. And anyway, this thing, Monday is there. We have 2-3 days in the next week also. So we will continue on Monday. And then of course, I'll show you. So we have a lot of things to cover here. So we will complete this CRUD. And after completing CRUD, since React is not my responsibility, not my concern, not my headache, I'm not saying that, but yeah, I mean, we can't do all the things. So we will focus after that only on backend and we will test it completely with Postman. That is where I'll give you the project field where we will add some associations, relationships, and I'll try to make you comfortable, not expert. I don't know if expert, very good, but okay, comfortable at least in backend. So that will be all. I'll be uploading shortly the whole of this, including which readmes and all the to read compulsorily. And we'll continue with delete and update endpoints on Monday. Plus, I'll show you form binding technique. Form binding technique you don't require in a full stack because form binding is typically entire web MVC. So that is a technique you'll require for Spring MVC web application, which I'll show you. And if you have time, energy, whatever, you can continue to develop that admin flow. Where is that? I've removed it. Okay. Anyway, content management system admin flow. Okay. As per your timing. That will be all. If you get stuck seriously somewhere, you can always drop me a message, WhatsApp message. If I get time, I'll definitely respond. See you around. Have a great weekend. Come revised and we'll continue on Monday. That will be all.